Wherefore, part 34. When Nerys is out being a beaver, she's now conscious of what's going on. She spends her nights maintaining the dam and aware that she is a human consciousness magically acting in beaver form. On the whole, she likes being a beaver. It is uncomplicated, quietly fulfilling, and makes sense in a way her human life mostly doesn't. She is lonely as a beaver, just as she is when human, but the beaver loneliness is framed by the trees, the pond, the wading birds who visit, by the flows of water, and the soft blanketing of the night sky. Human loneliness is just lonely. There's no romance in it, and it serves no purpose. Nerys has felt that loneliness for most of her adult life, and yet she has hung on to the human part of herself. She could have chosen to go beaver full time, to let go of her other self with all its limitations and dissatisfaction. She has chosen to keep going. Some part of her heart refuses to give up on her humanity and clings to the hope of finding something to answer the ache in her soul. In the meantime, there is solace and purpose in being a beaver. The increased wildlife around her is proof enough that she is making a difference. The bear plonks itself down a few feet away from the edge of the pond. Nerys's beaver self sees the bear and feels the rightness of its presence. Of course there should be a bear at the edge of the pond. There should be wolves too, looking to pick off the unwary. The deep channels she is digging will make the pond safer for all the gentler residents, even if an otter or some other predator moves in. Her beaver self somehow knows all these things about what it means to be a beaver. Of course there is a bear. It takes the human part of her a little while longer to catch up. "You would not believe how long it's taken me to find this place," the bear says, settling into a more comfortable position. "I've been all over everywhere for weeks. You also won't believe how many streams have potential dams in them already. Fallen trees and whatnot. Like, every stream for miles around is trying to summon its own beaver. Or they're all intent on making life hard for this bear. I'm not sure. Maybe you have beaver friends on the way." "Can't be sure, but I read some roadkill entrails back there and the omens are good." Nerys swims over to the edge of the pond and looks at the bear a bit more closely. Her beaver self is wary. Her human self is terrified and elated in about equal measure and feels weird about being a beaver right now. She's never tried to talk as a beaver. How does that work? She moves her tongue, tries to find vocal cords, wonders about her teeth and the shape of her mouth. It's all really complicated. "All right there?" Ursula asks. Nerys's beaver opens her mouth and makes a selection of vowel sounds. "Can you change your will?" Ursula asks. Nerys shakes her head, relieved that yes-no answers are at least an option. "I've been trying to stalk you," Ursula continues, "but finding you is hard. You aren't on Facebook, you don't frequent the pubs, you aren't even in town on a Saturday. Damn, do you play hard to get or what?" Nerys makes a noise, which in fairness is as much as she could have articulated using her other face. What can she possibly do? She can't change. She will just wake up at home as her other self. She can't talk. Nerys waddles out of the water and for the first time in her life is struck by the thought that beavers are not that inherently sexy and that her bum is really big in the skin. But on the other hand, Ursula is a bear. And who knows what the bear woman might find attractive. Nerys gets up the small bank and makes her way to where Ursula is sitting, still entirely ursine. Nerys clears a small area of its twigs and leaves, then carefully carves her phone number into the ground. She is pleased with herself for coming up with this plan. However, as she steps back to reveal her work, it strikes her that Ursula won't have a phone, or pen, or paper, and a mobile number is not an easy thing to commit to memory. Ursula is still for a moment, and she shrugs and opens her bare skin at the throat. It is a startling process, and it is as well that Nerys currently has such a low centre of gravity as a beaver, because this is the only thing stopping her from falling over. Ursula rolls the bare head back from her face and unpeels one shoulder. Nerys is captivated, unable to take her eyes off this revealing of flesh as one form emerges from the other. Ursula bears an arm and rather a lot of chest on that side. And Neris finds that beaver fur is rather warm, and that she has no idea what to do with her paws, and that her tail is moving all by itself. Ursula looks at her, which is pretty devastating. Then she says, "Just to be clear, I am very butch and totally showing off how tough I am in order to impress you, and I'm serious about wanting your phone number, and if this scares you off, I'm going to be heartbroken. Got it?" Neris makes some beavery vowel noises. She is terrified, but not in a way that suggests scared off is any kind of option right now. Ursula brings the bare claws of her right paw to the bare skin of her human left arm. Then, very calmly and with great care, she proceeds to cut Neris's phone number into her skin. Neris is horrified, mortified, terrified in turn. She is also wholly mesmerized and barely able to breathe. This is such an extraordinary action. It is too much, surely. It is too much to do for her sake. How could she ever be worth such an outrageous and painful course of action? How can she do otherwise than disappoint someone who is keen enough to carve her phone number into their flesh? She feels small. Of course, it doesn't help that as a beaver she really is rather small compared to Ursula's mighty bear form. Number cutting complete, Ursula looks at her again. Her smile is so knowing, her large eyes so intense. Dark hair tumbles to her shoulders in unruly curls. Neris is smitten. She wants to only ever say yes to this woman. Yes, and yes, and yes. Her beaver form cannot make the word. She gets frustrated. "I will phone you during the day," Ursula says. "I will tell you your future, maybe." She stands up, bare skin partly hanging from her body, arm bleeding with the phone number. Neris watches her go, and then gets back into the water. The cool of it offers some sort of relief. She paddles and gets back to work because her body needs to be doing something right now, and hefting mud about is something she can do. Later, when Neris wakes up in her bed, the first thought she has is that the bear must have been a dream. Something so strange and sexy could not really have happened. She goes for a shower. As a consequence, when the phone rings, she is wet and naked. It seems appropriate. Ursula's voice is husky. Neris does not describe the state she is in, but she wants to. That surprises her. "So, the question is," Ursula says, and then pauses, "do we hang out without our fur sometime?" Neris finds that being her human self has not done much to improve her capacity for speech. She makes a small beaverish sort of noise. "Is that a yes?" Ursula asks. "Yes," says Neris.